My name is Juhi Sharma, and I am a cinematographer. I've been shooting ads, documentaries, music videos, the rare short film for the past 3 years now. I did my schooling in DAV Girls, Gopalpuram. After that, I did my graduation in Bachelor's of Science in Electronic Media in MOP Vaishnav. After which I got into my postgraduate diploma in cinematography at LV Prasad Film and TV Academy. Why I got into film is not something that has been happening to me for the longest time. It's not something that I've always said, oh, I should always do film. It happened to me coincidentally, and it happened to me because I was doing my final thesis in film. And when I started doing my final thesis in film, I realized that there was so much to it, and we were giving so little importance in our film industry to what and all was happening inside a film. There was a script, there was lighting, there was angles, there was storytelling. All of this was coming together to tell you a film, right? And the more I started looking into the individual aspects, that's when I realized I want to get into one of these. I want to learn one of these. So I jumped right into cinematography. I did one film in college, after which I decided that I wanted to explore it more. So I went ahead and I applied for my postgraduate diploma in cinematography, and I got through. And I went in as a complete fresher with no knowledge, but film school changed me as a person. So traveling has always been a very, very huge part of my life. Luckily, I've always wanted to work and travel together, and I've always got the opportunities to do that. And while traveling and working, I've met so many people from all around India and abroad. I've met people from all different strata of society and walks of life. And that's when I decided that I actually need to start telling these stories myself. Before that, I was shooting stories. I was shooting stories for someone else. I was shooting stories about someone else, what they had in mind, someone else's dream. But when I started meeting so many people and hearing their stories, that's when I realized that, I want to start telling their stories to people, because I've heard such amazing experiences that would do so well in a film that I decided that this is the way I wanted to complete my journey in filmmaking. I mean, not complete, but go on with my journey in filmmaking. Somewhere wants to have something to do with Hollywood. They want to see those dreams. For me, I've always been of a very independent filmmaking sort of mindset, which is why I chose New York as a place of New York for me was like a mecca. I needed to get there because the kind of films that came out of New York were always the kind of films that I wanted to make. Scorsese's early films are very gritty, and that's the kind of filmmaking I like. I don't like glossy filmmaking, because to me that's not life. What's life? Life is gritty, life is tough, and you see people struggling, and that's what I want to show through my films. I want to show people's struggles, them crying and them getting through it. So when I started considering my education in film, I realized that there was not any way in the world that I'd be able to afford it, or my parents would be able to afford it. So I knocked the doors of banks, institutions, I did all of that jazz, and there was nothing that came out of it. I tried a lot. I've been trying it for the past 5-6 months now, and almost nothing came out of it. Which is when my friend said that, you're really good at networking. It's the one skill that I made sure that I always had. I always made sure that I always networked well, basically. And he said, if anybody can do it, you can. You should consider crowdfunding. So that's when I said, okay, you know what, if nothing comes out of this, at least I'll get an experience, at least I'll get to meet new people, and if I can't raise all the money, I'll give it back, So it was not whatever money comes, I'm going to take it and go away. It was never that. It was always that only if I could reach a certain limit would I be able to go. So I decided to make use of my networking skills, and I decided to crowdfund. and I made an entire like a PR campaign out of it for myself, and I did it all alone, where I decided what posts go up when and how they go up, and how I wanted to bust myths about crowdfunding in general, because India has never been open to crowdfunding. India doesn't know what crowdfunding is, and though crowdfunding education is very popular abroad, hardly anyone in India has even heard of it. So I wanted to change that first, and I wanted to change that for myself and for other people who could potentially use it as well. So yeah, and social media just like completely has been my best friend and my worst enemy at the same time. So when I started off, I only spoke to my friends and family, my close friends and family, and then I eventually put it up on Facebook as well. For the first 2 weeks, I was stuck at $5,000, and I needed to raise about 50. I needed to raise $50,000. After which I edited my goal and I said, you know what? Maybe I'm being too ambitious, and maybe that's not something that people will agree with. So I brought down my goal, and at the same time, I was getting massive backlash on Twitter. Massive. Like, I was getting terribly abused, and I was trying very hard to ignore everything that was coming to me, but it was getting super hard. And some out of nowhere, a reporter spoke to me about this. She called me out of nowhere. I don't know where she found my number, and she called me and she spoke to me about this, and she said, you know what, I want to cover your story. So she said, tell me everything that's happened to you. And I told her about the banks not hearing me out and not thinking cinema as a course, and I told her about all the abuse that was happening, and she wrote an article that was very, very impactful. And again, social media took over, and people from all around the world reached out to me, and I reached $5,000 in about 14 days, and the next 3 days I had made $20,000. A great amount. I never thought I'd get there, and I'm here, and it's surreal, almost a feeling. I'm in a space where I'm looking for more scholarships, because this is just the beginning for me. I still have 2 more years of education to fund myself, but the idea is that if I can sort of get the first push start into this, then later I will be able to make it there myself through scholarships and working and doing more projects and things like that. Social media can be beautiful and terrifying at the same time, and that human beings are they're driven by the simplest things. We only need to search in the right places. That's about it.